Good afternoon. I'm meteorologist Kaitlyn McGrath. The rain and snow are gone. The cold air is here and wind will continue for the next several hours. So let's start with the wind because that's our biggest threat as we head through the next several hours. We have already seen a number of power outages, a lot of tree damage reports, and unfortunately a fatality as a result of the wind. So far we've seen winds gust up to 54 miles per hour in Dulles, just under 50 miles per hour in DC. Peak wind gust in Leesburg, 51 miles per hour, and in parts of western Maryland where we still have that high wind warning in effect, gusting up to 55. That has been the peak wind gust since midnight for Cumberland, and we are not done yet. We'll continue to see several more hours of this potentially damaging and really gusty wind. We do still have a wind advisory in effect for parts of our area with a high wind warning in western Maryland. That will stay in effect as we head through tomorrow morning. The current wind gusts still gusting in the 30s and 40s. Current wind gust in DC, 40 miles per hour, 44 in Leesburg, 46 in Martinsburg, 29 in Manassas. You will hear the wind howling whether you go outside or not. Chances are you have noticed it throughout the day since that cold front pushed through earlier this morning. The wind has been persistent and it will stay that way at least for the next several hours. We'll start to see a bit of improvement later on tonight and especially throughout the day on Saturday. We've already dropped the wind advisory for DC and surrounding counties. Areas off to the west, right along just east and immediately west of I-81. We do still have a wind advisory in effect for the next several hours. That's everywhere you see shaded there in yellow, but the high wind warning everywhere you see shaded in orange for those winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour. That remains in effect until tomorrow morning. The wind will take a little bit longer to die down closer to the mountains, but most of us should continue to see improvement as we head through the next several hours. So let's time it out here using Futurecast. And again, these are is a look at the future wind gusts. This is right around 8 o'clock tonight, still gusting generally 25 to 35 miles per hour for most of us. But again, you head west of I-81 and we're still seeing winds gusting 45 to 55 miles per hour throughout the mountains. And again, these are going to be frequent wind gusts, but not persistent wind. A typical wind will stay coming in from the west between about 10 to 15 miles per hour sustained, but of course gusting higher than that at times. As we head through the later evening hours, wind continues to diminish, but this is still 11 o'clock tonight, gusting 20 to 25 miles per hour. It's not until tomorrow when we start to see a bit more improvement. And again, like we've been talking about for days, this significant wind on top of the bitter cold Arctic temperatures that are continuing to drop as we head throughout the afternoon will just add insult to injury and bring in that potentially cold wind chill, or potentially dangerous rather, wind chill factor. Fast forward to tomorrow evening. This is right around 7 p.m. That's when we really start to cut the wind. Still coming in from the west, generally between about 5 and 15 miles per hour, but we won't see nearly the gusty conditions that we've seen throughout the day today and that we can expect as we head through the overnight hours. All right, that's the wind. Let's talk a little bit more about the cold because this is the 24-hour temperature change. So right now it is 22 degrees colder than it was at this exact time yesterday in Manassas, 18 degrees colder in DC, about 20 degrees colder for just about everyone. And the bitter cold air is only continuing to sink south, whereas temperatures typically climb throughout the afternoon. They're going to continue to fall as we head through the next several hours. Just about everyone sitting in the teens and 20s as is, but by the time you're checking back in with us at 11 o'clock tonight, we'll still be in the low teens for DC, but outside of the city, everyone falls into the single digits overnight. Here's a look at those overnight low temperatures. And again, this is a type of cold we do not see very often here in this region. We used to, back before we started to see our climate changing pretty significantly, but cold like this, rather uncommon these days. So this is potentially dangerous cold. You need to make sure you're checking in on loved ones, elderly, pets, everyone that needs a little extra attention when it comes to these cold temperatures. You need to make sure everyone is staying safe and of course take care of your homes as well, especially if you're heading out for any holiday travel tonight or for Christmas Eve tomorrow and on Christmas Day on Sunday, because the cold is sticking around all weekend long. And like we've been talking about with these temperatures, any leftover moisture, which thankfully there's not a ton of at this point. We've seen the wind help to dry up the surface quite a bit, but any leftover puddles, ponding, any wet surfaces will freeze if they haven't done so already over the next several hours and stay frozen until Monday. Temperatures don't climb above freezing until we get to early next week. We stay below the freezing mark as we head through the next several days. Waking up tomorrow morning, temperatures in the single digits, but feeling sub-zero. We'll talk more about the wind chill. We'll stay right around 11 degrees in D.C. So here's where we have that wind chill advisory in effect. Everyone shaded there in that light pink. That's for sub-zero wind chills. Generally about 10 to 15 degrees below zero is what it will feel like later tonight and early tomorrow morning. Areas you see shaded there in blue, that's where a wind chill warning is in effect. So parts of the Shenandoah, areas in western Maryland and parts of West Virginia, that's where the feels like temperature could approach 45 degrees below zero. Again, the type of wind chill, the type of cold that you need to be extremely careful during. And keep in mind, the wind chill is what it feels like to your exposed skin. So as you're stepping outside, just make sure you are properly dressed and covered just about everywhere. Current feels like temperatures across the area. We already feel like 9 below back into Oakland. It feels like just 4 degrees in Frederick when you factor in the wind on top of the current temperatures, which are still dropping. Right around 15 degrees is what it feels like in Front Royal. 10 for a feels like temperature in D.C. 25 is what it currently feels like to exposed skin in Waldorf, and those feels like temperatures only going to drop over the next several hours. This is 7 o'clock tonight. Maybe you're heading out for some evening travel, packing up the car. It is going to feel sub-zero for everyone. 13 below is what it will feel like in Leesburg, 16 below in Winchester, 20 below back into parts of Romney, and no real change as we head through the overnight hours. This is 11 o'clock. Everyone feeling about 5 to 15 degrees below zero. And then as you're waking up tomorrow morning, you can maybe tack on another degree or two. It will feel like 5 to 10 degrees below zero early Saturday morning. And while temperatures tomorrow afternoon actually make it back into the upper teens and low 20s, it will never feel warmer than the single digits for just about all of us. This is 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, feeling like 1 degree in Winchester, feels like 7 back into Baltimore, 13 for a feels like temperature in Manassas, 9 in Andrews. Bitter cold temperatures throughout the day on Saturday. Thankfully for Christmas Day on Sunday, it won't be as windy, but it will still be bitter cold. Temperatures will start off in the teens by about 9 a.m. late morning. Maybe if the kiddos get any gifts they're anxious to go outside and play with, temperatures will be back into the low 20s. You need to make sure you are dressing appropriately throughout Christmas Day as well, because even though it won't be windy, we won't have as much of a wind chill factor. This is still potentially dangerous cold if you're not dressed properly. Throughout the afternoon, temperatures only making it back into the mid to upper 20s. So the 7-day forecast thankfully shows quite a bit of improvement as we head through the next several days after a really cold holiday weekend with lows in the single digits and teens. High temperatures in the 20s. We get gradually warmer day by day. We're back above freezing for Monday of next week, in the 40s for Tuesday and Wednesday, and then 50s return for Thursday into Friday with a whole lot of sunshine, a welcome change after such a nasty stretch of weather. But keep in mind, again, any road surfaces that look wet should be treated as if they are frozen. We're going to talk much more about the black ice threat and when we could see temperatures back in the 60s. That's right, long range forecasts shows some temperatures that could approach the 60s just in time for New Year's Eve. We'll talk about all of those details coming up on WUSA 9 starting at 5.